never gives up. He'll stay till the fight's won. G.I. Joe will dare. G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to, well, I guess not back to, welcome to the first episode of Knowing is Half the Podcast, the G.I. Joe cartoon show experience.
We've already ruined continuity.
That's it. What are you talking about, Chan? How dare you? Where's that curtain? Let's pull it back down again. In any case, my name is Ray Stakanis.
I'm Robert Chan.
And I'm Gina Ippolito.
And we're here to talk about G.I. Joe, the cartoon series, starting with episode 1 of The Pyramid of Darkness.
Ooh.
Which is very, very exciting.
Episode 1, The Further Adventures of G.I. Joe.
Right.
Absolutely.
Episode 1, The Further Adventures of G.I. Joe.
That is a fact.
There are more adventures
Yes.
before 1.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, they did no character introductions.
This is true.
If you didn't know who all these people were coming into it, you are boned city.
Whew.
Now, I can tell you why this is The Further Adventures of G.I.
We'll
Joe.
get to that. How about we get to the characters who are on
Okay.
the microphone right now?
Oh, okay, what the heck? Because speaking of no introductions necessary, aren't our names enough, Chan?
Here are some people who introductions are absolutely 100% necessary.
But for episode 1 of a brand new property, you think we should tell people who we are?
I mean, I guess if G.I. Joe doesn't do it, why should we bother?
Well, thank you, for continuity's sake.
We're at least as famous as G.I. Joe.
At least.
Thank you. They'll be making movies starring The Rock with us in no time.
Yeah, they're like 12-inch dolls of us already
Yeah.
in stores around the country.
The Rock will be playing me.
Oh, assuredly.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that
Oh,
would
yeah.
make sense.
All right,
yeah.
That would
right.
make sense. That the big multiracial guy
Yep.
would be playing you rather than, I mean, honestly, I would
A
see you as
petite,
more of a Scarlett
single
Johansson.
racial girl.
Yeah.
Let's face it, it's Steve Wilkos, the former bouncer from Jerry Springer, who'll be playing me on the show.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I can see
true.
pretty
I
much
can
a
see
fact.
that. I
Yeah.
can see that.
In any case, my name is Ray, and we're doing the show here just because this is a love of G.I. Joe, the cartoon show. This is about joy. This is about everything, because G.I. Joe has meant a lot to me ever since I was a little kid. I watched every single episode of these every single day after school, and then they weren't popular, so they put them on before school, where all the unpopular cartoon shows would go.
Stoners, you mean. Stoners watch the show.
They didn't have stoners back then.
Oh, wait, did you say before school let out or before
No,
school
before
in the morning?
school in the morning
Like
at
7
a.m.
Gotcha.
And then
Yes,
they had
yes, yes.
Transformers on at 7:30, and Ninja Turtles became the new thing, airing at the coveted 4 p.m. slot.
Sure.
And I've just collected all the toys, and it's really an impactful part of my life, and it explains why I'm so messed up right now.
Oh, it's yeah, absolutely. This is a show that will warp young minds. My mom did not want me to have. She's a straight up peacenik, so she never wanted me to have guns. She didn't even want me to have like the teeny tiny guns, and didn't want me watching the show. She was a little bit lax on that. I could kind of watch it. It was a little bit verboten, and
You had to watch it on the sly in the Chan household.
Yeah. And so I carry a little bit of baggage with me, but I still loved it. Now looking back on it. Whew.
Yeah. I actually had never, I don't know if I had ever even seen an episode. I was a He-Man fan.
Love the He-Man.
Okay, right.
So anytime my older brother would get G.I. Joe figurines, he would trade them to his friend and for his He-Man figures, because we really liked He-Man and his friend really liked G.I. Joe, so we would just trade them.
And the He-Man figures were like 3 times as big as the G.I. Joe, so you
we
can get a
were
good deal worth
clearly-
out.
value
We
proposition.
were getting a way better deal.
Actually, I Transformers was my jam.
Oh.
And so G.I. Joe was sort of ancillary. It wasn't so much the thing. Also, looking back on Transformers. But the thing about Transformers is they're not good. And that's
Right.
fine. But also, they're giant fucking robots. And this is purportedly
Yeah.
a military organization.
Military show.
That
Yeah.
has no bearing on reality.
It's 100% what the 80s in America felt a military show should be.
Yeah.
100%. And I remember being disappointed because I was a straight up G.I. Joe guy, number one, like above Ninja Turtles, Transformers, all of the above. Like G.I. Joe was completely my jam. And they had the animated movies that came out back in 1987. And G.I. Joe was supposed to be the first one to come out. And that's the one with Duke taking the Cobra to the face, and Globulus and Burgess Meredith and
Right.
Lieutenant Falcon, played by Don Johnson. We'll get there eventually. And that was supposed to be the first one, but they had production delays. And so it was the third one. And because the My Little Pony movie bombed that year, and then the Transformers movie didn't do very well, the cartoon movie.
Still, creatively, I mean, the apex of 80s animation. Transformers the movie.
Oh, incredible.
Oh, yeah.
But that should have been G.I. Joe the movie, except they screwed the pooch on it. And because the first two failed, they just said, we're not putting this one in theaters. And G.I. Joe, that movie, got relegated, cut up, and put onto television.
It seems like G.I. Joe probably would have gone well, though.
I would hope so.
I doubt it.
Really?
Well, not without Michael Bay in charge.
Again, giant robots, there's a certain amount of license you can take with reality.
That's true.
But
Sir, that same license was taken with G.I. Joe.
I know. And that's why it doesn't work.
But back then, people still liked the military.
Yeah.
So people probably
what
would have...
people don't
People love
now.
the military
Wait,
now.
Gina, just go out on the street and say, I don't support the troops. Say it quietly, not even at your full volume, in the middle of the street, and you will be assaulted.
I mean, first of all, this is Los Angeles, so I doubt it.
Even in Los Angeles, there's still plenty of these colors don't run bumper stickers on pickup trucks. And you know what? I don't want to alienate what is probably 80% of the audience for this show.
I'm not saying I don't support the troops.
Thank
by the
you.
way.
Memorial Day.
But I'm pretty sure that I'm looking at you. You writing it on a piece of paper right now saying, I actually don't support the troops. I, Gina Ippolito, don't support the troops.
I'm gonna get that tattooed on my chest later.
Well, I just want for the record to know, I do support the troops, and I support our Joes in all their forms.
So you support the troops, both real and fictional.
That is correct.
Nice. Okay.
I'm down.
Okay, so, yeah.
So talk about the further adventures of G.I. Joe. That's the name of the first. So this is a 5-part Pyramid of Darkness series.
That's bold.
Opening with a 5-parter is a
You got to get strong.
Yeah, big story arc.
And the reason why is because the 2 previous years leading up to 1985's The Further Adventures of G.I. Joe Pyramid of Darkness, they did 2 5-part movie miniseries, one per year leading up to this as pilot tests to see if people were into it. Yeah. And so the first one was called G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero.
Of course.
And that's a 5-part series where they had the mass device. It's kind of known as like the really bad G.I. Joe movie.
Oh, no, that's the one with
With the
heavy
tube
water and... Oh, shit. Wait
Yeah.
a minute, why aren't we watching that instead?
Because we're doing this.
What? Oh, this is bullshit.
We'll go back to it, Chan. We'll go back. It'll be a very special one night only live edition.
Are you saying that we have to watch 5 fucking episodes just to do one episode of this show?
Yes.
That is unacceptable.
It'll be a 2-hour
That is
megasode.
Not going to
Everyone
work for
will
me.
love it. The second one was The Revenge of Cobra, which came out in 1984, and that was where they Destro created the Weather Dominator.
Oh, man.
And predated Al Gore by about 15 years.
I still use that as sort of a touchstone of the
Yes.
80s, like just calling something a weather dominator, because that's we're going to cover this later on. For the most part, they had some pretty badass names.
Oh, yeah.
Like a mass device. That sounds like
Yeah.
you could stir up some serious shit with it. The Weather Dominator?
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, we'll get to
and then
the water robots
the
later.
Pyramid of Darkness.
Pyramid of Darkness.
That's freaking rad.
they all sound terrifying to me.
If you're Cobra in the naming department, man, good job getting your trademarks.
I feel like of all of those, the Weather Dominator would be the one that I would want the most.
Yeah, it sounds like something
Seems
that
like the most useful.
you're like, I don't feel like going to work today.
Snow.
Hold on,
Snow,
I've got a
blizzard.
Weather Dominator.
It's sad that that's the only thing you could think to do with it. Oh, I don't want to go to work today. I'm going to make it snow.
I have a very limited
Never mind social, military purposes.
Yeah.
Chan doesn't feel like going to
social.
work.
What am I
Or-
going to cure racism with fucking rain?
Yes.
Or how about the drought problems in LA, you
Wow,
selfish
Chan.
son of a bitch?
And to top it all off, Chan, you work from home.
He has every tap in his apartment is running right now for no reason.
Well, I just want to keep. It's a white noise generator, so that the sound outside. There's a lot of poor people around.
Really, you'd
here. I
use the
just
Weather
want to-
Dominator as a white noise generator. Thanks, Chan. I thought you were selfish before. Now I know.
I'm just saying that I know in my heart that I would not make a good Cobra Commander, and
Fair.
it's something that I've felt inside my heart. There's some dreams that I had to let die.
Absolutely. Well, jumping into the episode, we open with G.I. Joe launching a missile into space.
Right.
Like,
G.I. Joe, what are you talking about? That is a space shuttle.
well, it's a
That
missile
is-
attached to a space shuttle.
That is a shuttle with the rocket boosters
Yes.
that every space shuttle in the history of American space flight has used. That is the configuration they've used. Why would you call it a missile?
We could also point out that the year after this is when the Challenger exploded.
So are you saying that it's
blame
G.I.
G.I.
Joe's
Joe.
fault?
I think it's G.I. Joe's fault. I will go ahead and say that because what ends up happening is Cobra's big plan is to throw a net over it.
dear
Right,
God.
right.
Because that just stops the rocket cold. It doesn't just stop the rocket. It keeps thrusting upwards and just staying there under the net. It doesn't turn. It doesn't crash. It doesn't explode.
No. It's the nets were thrown by a bunch of hiss tanks, which then dragged it laterally as it was still firing up in the air.
So far, I see no problem physically with anything happening in this episode.
My favorite part so far is how many weapons they have hidden in rocks.
Dude, there are the tanks underneath the ground. The rocks came up, and the sharks came out.
Yeah. It reminds me of that like hide a key in the Sky Mall magazine, and G.I. Joe just like called them and they were like, "Hi, can we get 400 of them? But can they be huge?"
Super huge.
That's how Sky Mall stayed in business.
I kind of feel that like the writer of G.I. Joe probably just had a Sky Mall catalog and just went this, and this.
I agree.
G.I. Joe.
I feel like Sky Mall would have been run by Cobra. It very much seems like a Cobra plan.
Those pet steps are diabolical.
They've got to make their money somehow. They're building all these robots and tanks and
so
planes.
does that mean this last year was when Cobra was truly defeated?
They just gave up.
Sky Mall went out of
Somebody
business?
bought it.
Oh.
They're reopening Sky Mall.
You know who bought it?
Really?
Extensive
That's
Enterprises.
Fair enough.
So my question, I guess, and besides the hidden rocks, where everything, like the people just waiting for the ambush to happen, so they got good intel with G.I. Joe. They knew Cobra was coming.
I mean, I feel like if you're a G.I. Joe, you're gonna assume that at any point,
if you're a G.I. Joe launching a shuttle into space,
right?
Odds are good. What else has Cobra got to do?
Yeah,
and this is my question. Though. They are deep in the desert, right? But then all of a sudden the camera pans over and there's a sprawling city.
Where's Cape
Enterprise
Canaveral?
City?
Where's Cape Canaveral? Is that
It's in Florida.
I think. No, but is it near a city? I don't actually know if it's like out in the middle of BFE. Because apparently the launches
I believe it's right next door to New York City, just like in the G.I. Joe universe.
These are all good questions.
It's Enterprise City, for God's sakes.
Enterprise City.
It's not like Gotham, where it was like based on anything. It's just a friggin' city.
Except the Twin Towers are in there.
Are they?
Owned by Extensive Enterprises.
They were probably just buildings that
towers.
looked like the Twin Towers.
They looked a lot like the Twin Towers. I'm just saying.
They are the Crimson Twins, so it would make sense
that they would have the
that's
twin.
True.
I didn't even put that together.
That's
Chan, you nailed it.
Oh God, what is wrong with you?
My question: why is G.I. Joe launching a rocket into space in the first place?
Was it to go up to the?
They're already on the space station Delta.
But was it to fix something on the space station?
Their enormous space station with. Let's just jump right ahead here. G.I. Joe has a space laser capable of destroying an entire military fort.
Oh, by the way, that made me. I wrote a note that says, "When is this set?" Because it's clearly the future in some
future
aspects.
1985
ish. Yeah.
Because they have jetpacks and guns that go pew pew,
but they don't have cell phones.
Right?
No. Who could have conceived?
Could not conceive that laser destroying space station.
But
sure,
they never specify. Like, are we supposed to assume that the military just has all these crazy things that we don't know about?
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
we just gave them the power to do that. The American military has the power to just wipe out any large installation that they feel like, and we just let that happen. That's like Black Ops.
Oh, now
And
who seems anti-government?
What I have always been
Chan.
anti-government.
Now, to be fair, we can trust Duke and Scarlet, who seemingly are the only two people on the entire space station with this enormous God-loving power.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, they've definitely dabbled in sex while up there, right?
Assuredly. What else are they going to do?
Also, wait a minute. It just occurred to me.
There's no zero G.
Yeah, it's straight up. They figured out anti-gravity as well as everything else here.
What I would tell you, Chan, is wait till later in the series.
Oh, Christ.
Because that becomes a plot point later on.
I don't even want it.
So one of the things that I liked was when Lady J she throws the cobras into the water, and her line is, "Watch me change them from cobras to water rats."
Water rats.
Yes.
And she paused like she couldn't decide how she was going to end it.
Hold on. I'm going to say this because, granted, I have on occasion said some negative things about this show.
What?
Chan, I'm
Possibly
shocked.
every word out of my mouth has been a negative thing about the
I
show.
took it as pure joy.
However, I will say that there were two really well done puns in this episode.
Okay.
The wordplay.
Do not say water rat.
Here's the thing. Water rats was terrible. Most of what I remember of G.I. Joe was that most of their like catchphrases or whatever wordplay were terrible. Just the fucking worse.
She didn't even
But-
go with another kind of water snake.
Like a lamprey eel would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
They were some lazy ass writers. However, one of them, Lady J, is one woman who hates to break a launch date.
Great job.
That is
Awesome.
good. That is good.
Launching, lunch, great. And then the
She's
other
one
one
for two.
The other one was when Shipwreck, they were, fighting the water base and all that like that, and they blow up and it goes, man underboard. I'm like,
yeah.
that's kind of
Smart.
awesome. 'cause
I
they're under the water.
I did like that.
That was, as far as I'm concerned, that was the high point of the series, and it's never going to get any better than that. And I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be wrong on this one.
I'd like to bring up this is just a thing we have to accept about the G.I. Joe universe, just going into the show, is that every person speaking can hear every other person speaking, regardless of distance or communication devices.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Just understand this, because there's moments where Destro's about to fly his plane in, and then Flint's just like, he responds to him as if they're standing right next to each other. Never mind, they'd be on different frequencies, and one's in a jet. Does not matter. Everybody could. So just get over it now. This is the reality of the world in which we live.
Look,
That's fine.
I don't know how comms work in the military world, so I didn't see a problem with it at all.
That makes total sense.
And the only other thing I'd say from the opening act, like, this is just the opening 3 minutes of the episode.
yeah, this shit gets done in this show.
Yeah.
Everything is a surprise to Cobra Commander. In theory, this is a plan within a plan, as we learn later that the whole thing was an elaborate ruse, yet
Right.
he's still really pissed off when it doesn't work.
He's just I would like to see someone slip him some necessary meds because he's so excitable and his heart probably can't handle that.
That's his thing, man. That's how he keeps his troops.
They need to slip him some
morale
Quaaludes,
up.
though, and we need to see Mellow.
I don't want to see Cobra Commander mellow. When he turns mellow, he actually starts killing people.
Isn't that just Serpentor?
Oh my gosh. No, Serpentor was never mellow.
Oh, okay. I don't.
Serpentor was every Roman emperor brought
Right.
to life at the
And,
same
like,
time.
Napoleon and Hitler and
Every
all
single
these.
one of them.
Yeah.
But not Hitler, because that would be weird.
Did they not have Hitler?
They did not. They picked a German baron or something for that. They did not pick
I
Hitler.
assume that it was.
Had it been any country except America, had it been Japan making this, it would have been Hitler.
Fair enough.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what else I was going to say about Lady J? She's like the Smurfette of this universe. So do they they clearly all want to bang her, right?
No, there's also
There's Scarlet.
Yeah, but she's MIA a lot of times.
She's in space.
She's MIA a lot of times.
Well,
So
she
I
was
feel
pretty
like-
much Scarlet was the hero of the original couple of movies.
Okay.
Like the first movie in particular that I remember, The Mass Device, it's basically the hero of every scene is Scarlet.
Oh,
Whereas in
okay.
Pyramid of Darkness, we're going to move around to a couple of different stories happening at the same time. Imagine if Scarlet was in every single one of those stories. That would be the first G.I. Joe movie.
But clearly all these dudes want to bang one of those two girls.
Well, I will say this:
Yes.
in the Smurfs, Smurfette is the only female Smurf.
later on, there's a kid.
There's the cousins and
a
all
girl
that bullshit.
Smurf. Yeah.
In Transformers, there was RC, and then that was it.
Right.
Clearly, everybody wanted to bang her. In G.I. Joe, though, they're top-notch military dudes. They're completely ripped, and they live in the world. I feel like they get plenty of
Do
pussy.
they live in the world? How often do they leave this base? Because I'm picturing it like Thundercats, where Chitara is there, and they're not going to shopping malls.
They had nowhere to go, though, in Thundercats.
yeah, I mean,
There's a whole world
they
out
had
there in
all
G.I.
of
Joe.
Thundara.
I mean,
Yeah, it's true.
maybe. I feel like they were enough of an organization that if they couldn't get away time, whatever you call that,
They would
it
hire
go-
prostitutes to
yes,
come to them.
they would just bring in GI.
This is getting really dark, guys.
I'm sorry. They would bring in GI Hoes.
Oh, jeez, Chan.
Ew.
yeah.
Also the Mexican version of GI Joe. So I guess
And
that
thanks for
doesn't really
listening, everybody. That was the first episode.
No, it's not done.
That's a word
Chan.
joke. That's not racist. I'm just saying.
Well, you know what? I'm going to pull
Pronounce their
this.
J's with.
I'm going to pull this back to my reality, and let's talk about water robots.
Let's talk about water robots. This is what I was bringing up earlier. They've got great names. They have these enormous sentinel-like robots
Yep.
that are impervious to lasers, and they're like 90 feet tall. They operate underwater just as well as above the water. What do you call these monstrosities? They never show up again in the series.
Never show up again in all of G.I. Joe.
Unstoppable beasts.
Never.
They call them water robots.
Do you think Aquabots would have been better?
Aquabots is fine.
Yeah.
No,
Aqua
because
Gargants?
There's a ska band that's basically they're the Aquabats. and
Gross.
You could have called them Sea Titans.
I also noticed
Yeah.
the similarities to
You could
the
have called them
Sentinels.
Krakens. Yeah.
Oh, Krakens would have been good.
Well, they're made of water.
They're
giant robots.
inflated with water, and they're still
they're
bad as fuck.
basically water beds.
Yes, giant, super strong,
With arms.
impervious to.
that can grab your entire vehicle and fling you across the ocean.
Yeah,
G.I.
and also clearly think, because at some point that one water robot was like, I gotta fix this, and then he was like, I'll suck them in and then shoot them out, and they like he's not just following basic commands here.
No, there's an
he's
AI,
improvising.
clearly.
That was a little
He
strange
is
to me too, because he uses his face to suck up all the water around the water, and he sucks up 3 G.I. Joes in their shark tanks, and rather than just take them prisoner, go inside, torture them, get information, what have you, he just shoots them out. Just, we got him, go.
They blew up. That's what happened. They
In
shot him
theory.
out, and then they ran into the. He shot him so hard that they
The sharks exploded.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, so it did exactly what it was supposed to do. I don't even understand how you could have these enormous, unstoppable creatures and then just call them underwater weirdos.
And how about you just relegate them to just that purpose? You could have used them to actually just grab the shuttle and take it with you if that's what you wanted.
Yeah,
They were giant
that's what I
robots.
was wondering. As soon as they popped up from the water, I said, "Why have you not been using these to fight this entire time?"
It's not part of Cobra's plan. It's time for trivia, everybody. I got a little
Oh,
trivia
all right.
question here. We're talking about the sharks. The G.I. Joe vehicles. At first, they come out and they shoot up in the air and they're shooting all the planes out of the sky. And I thought to myself, why would they use the water vehicles? And then I remembered, that's because they're going to the water later in the episode and they need to use the same vehicles. My question to both of you, and I don't know that you're going to be able to come up with this because
Jesus.
I couldn't have.
Are you gonna-
Shark?
Oh.
What does shark stand for? And I'll tell you, it's SHARC. Shark.
A, amphibious.
No.
What?
No.
I'm done. I got
Aqua.
nothing.
Is it aqua?
I don't know what
It is
the
not.
fuck.
All right. What about? Let's see. I'm going to figure this out.
It's a shark. SHARC. I looked it up before we started.
Sentient.
Nope. They're definitely not sentient.
I mean, I was just assuming they eventually evolved into the Battlestar Galactica.
Well, that just makes sense now that I think about it.
Oh, does the C stand for Cylon?
Let me check. No. You're gonna get so mad when you find out what the C stands for. So it's shark. SHARC stands for submersible,
Right.
high speed,
All right.
Okay.
attack, and reconnaissance.
I was
The C is connaissance.
I was gonna say reconnaissance, but you just blew my mind with.
So they put 2 words and made it one.
That is
when They
correct.
did high speed.
Was it
And then they-
dash connaissance?
It's just reconnaissance. They had to get. There was no K word that they could fit, so they improvised the C.
Oh.
So from the people who brought you water robots, brought you sharks.
I mean, at least they tried to think of it.
No, they didn't.
I
They
mean,
did not put an
they got
ounce
a couple
of effort into that.
This is what I imagine the G.I. Joe writers' room to look like. It's a bunch of stoned 20-year-old dudes, and then they go like, "Oh, I got a great idea. It's gonna be submersible. Someone help me out here." And then another guy chimes in, and they're like, "Man, I don't know. Just think of something for those last 2." just like
put it in there.
with the water rats thing, I feel like they said that just like with the water rats thing, I feel like they said, "Oh, we're gonna change you from cobras into, hey guys, what's something that lives in the water?"
I don't know, water rats.
Oh, good.
Done.
Who wants lunch? Let's order some lunch.
I feel like, the catering around that writer's table must have been amazing.
Right.
At this point, Destro is now flying away. He escapes inside the Twin Towers of Extensive Enterprises,
That was slick. That was awesome.
Yeah.
He gets out of his plane and then meets up with a now changed of costume Cobra Commander and Crimson Twins, who were just last we saw in the water base. My question is, how much time has elapsed?
Wait, what? Oh.
Because Destro left the battle, flew around for maybe a couple of minutes, flew into the building, and meets up with the guys who just ran from the battle, went into the water, were pulled down by water robots.
We do know that they have an extensive subway system
Yes,
that exists
we do.
underneath the normal subway system. Surely that goes directly to Extensive Enterprises. Pop right up on that high-speed elevator.
They must have motored.
But I'm also assuming all their clothes are breakaway and they have several layers
That
of
is a fact.
uniforms
Yep.
underneath.
Yep. Actually, I would disagree with that because I feel like in that universe, everybody only gets to wear one outfit.
That's true. And they are skin tight.
Can we skip ahead to the part where a dude wearing a vest and nothing else is in space?
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with the fact that everybody on the space station, including the people flying the space shuttle, don't wear spacesuits at all? They just wear one dude is wearing forest camouflage.
They were clearly
to go into space.
Clearly based on the Village People.
All of G.I.
I mean,
Joe.
you have the biker, you have the military.
Eventually, we
man.
had Spirit, the Native
the
American.
Indian.
I mean,
Yeah.
There's
they
a construction
just,
worker, the bridge layer.
Yeah, that's who they send into space. They said, "Get me the evil village people."
Also, let's send a dog up. Because why not?
You don't send Mutt without Junkyard. Don't be weird.
Why would you send Mutt at all?
Mutt has skills that are important to this mission.
Can Mutt pilot an interstellar vehicle?
We've learned,
Or
yes.
an interorbital vehicle.
Yes, he can do it. He can do it with extra cargo so that the weight is messed up.
Listen, the animals are my favorite parts of this. I actually wrote down the parrot is the sassiest of them all because he has some good one-liners, and by good I mean good for a parrot.
Yeah, as parrots go, they probably had a parrot writer in the room.
Now, one thing about this crew that we bring up is there's 4 guys going up into space, okay?
Yeah.
You've got Mutt,
Yeah.
Breaker, Dusty, and random 4th guy who has no code name at all.
Oh, but he's excited to be there.
Guess which one is Zartan?
Yeah, I had also written that down. Like, hey, maybe the dude that doesn't have anything is a spy. Because everybody else...
The one untrusted Joe.
Is Dusty the one who has the southern accent that's
Yes.
just really excited to be there?
He's super happy to be part of. He's a guy who fights in deserts, still wears the flap over his ears,
And he still has mud on his face or something?
Yes.
Wow.
He's wearing camouflage so the aliens can't see him.
because he could hide in the forest in space.
That's right.
The space forest that obviously exists.
I mean, if you're going to bring a dog, really, the face paint's the part. I mean, maybe he's a juggalo. We don't know. It's possible.
He's a proto-juggalo.
He's a proto-juggalo from 1985.
Fair enough. Are we to the fatal fluffies yet?
So how do they? First of all, we skipped over we did talk about the village people a little bit.
Yes.
But I want to know what the recruitment was like for these guys.
I think they just
Because
find
they
them.
clearly have no space knowledge.
Maybe it's a Craigslist ad.
Well, I mean...
Do you have a unique costume and can fight a little bit? Come join the Joes.
It sounds like a sketch comedy.
I presume that all Joes are trained. They have their specialty before they even get called up. And then it's like, by the way, also learn how to pilot amphibious vehicles, also learn how to pilot space vehicles, also learn how to, good Lord, I don't even know what sort of things we have coming up.
Space shuttles. Know how to pilot a space shuttle. Know how to pilot, gliders and airplanes and sharks and road vehicles. But they take drop-ins too. They take walk-ons all the time at G.I. Joe. We've learned it time and time again.
Yeah, or we will learn.
If you're nearby, they'll take you in.
Are you good at fighting cobras? Awesome, welcome aboard.
You see what you can handle yourself. We trust you now.
They all have to have the exact same body type.
Yes.
And height.
Wait. This makes so much more sense now, and I'm totally willing to let them off the hook, because if they just take any old dude that knows how to fight a cobra, I mean, it could well be that the Zartan fellow, his thing is that he has no thing. He's like a Dadaist G.I. Joe, and they're just like, or he's like generic dude.
No
like,
specialties.
Dude, that's your thing. We're going to call you generic. We're going to call you like White Can or whatever like that.
Wait, does he not, can he not change his face?
He can change his face. He wears
did change
masks.
his face.
He
wears a lot of
it's
masks.
A mask.
But you don't see it till later.
But remember when he touches the window?
Yes.
What the hell happened to his hand?
Okay.
You never had a Zartan toy.
No,
Yes.
I didn't.
Zartan was a toy, was an action figure. When you dipped him in cold water, turned blue. It came out of the water. It's like those mugs where, like the change colors.
So cold makes him blue?
Let me take it one step further. The ones I remember were Zartan, if you put him in direct sunlight, because that's what happens to the character.
Oh, okay.
In direct sunlight or heat, I think is what it really is. He turns blue because he's like allergic to the sun, which is why when he puts his hand on the window and the sun's there and he starts turning blue, he's like, no, bad.
That
No.
seems like a
Hurty.
horrible weakness to have in
It's not good.
in a
Master of
in a
Disguise.
thug.
But it's fantastic if you're an action figure, and if you're a fucking 8-year-old kid, that 8-year-old kid would be all over that shit.
Because I was thinking he's got sweet skills that he can turn into whatever he's around or something.
Yeah.
He's a big time master of disguise who wears the masks and he can impersonate anybody. And despite the fact his voice is always echoey, he can impersonate everyone perfectly all the time.
I mean, you remember Jonathan Pryce from the G.I. Joe movies, of course. Have you seen a G.I. Joe movie?
I've seen the first one.
Yeah, at the end there when he
I believe
gets
I
the president.
blocked
He's the
it out of
president.
my. Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's the
And-
man.
So
and now the King of Sparrows is Zartan. Just so you know.
Just for the record.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, let's just get right to it. This is the highlight of the entire episode. Better than water
It was
robots.
my favorite.
The
fatal flaw.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
The card that came with them. I don't know if either of you noticed this, but
I noticed.
When Mutt was reading the card, he said that like enjoy their like split personalities or whatever. Or that's what it says on the card.
Yes.
But what he said with his mouth moving is that enjoy their deadly secret.
Yep.
Oh.
They fucked up the animation and like at some point
I don't
they,
think
redubbed
so.
it or whatever.
I don't think G.I. Joe makes mistakes, Chan. Let me just say right now, I think that he read that and he suddenly knew what was up.
I wrote down here, Mutt must. That's why I had to look him up because I was like, which fucking guy was this guy? Mutt probably has a degree in English.
Yep.
Because he was able to parse the meaning of the card and just be able to say deadly secret.
Deadly secret.
I'm saying that this guy is probably a literature scholar.
He's a prodigy.
On top of being a dog handler and a fucking space shuttle pilot. Mutt is clearly the Joe.
He's the top Joe.
Nobody.
Well, when it said split personalities, I thought like, oh, they're going to split in half
like
and
triples.
multiply
Right.
until there's way too many on the.
Please, this is not a derivative show.
Thank you.
They don't
Well-
steal ideas from other places.
Well, first
Stop it, you.
of all, there is a whole plot line in I believe it's either the first or second Knights of the Old Republic Star Wars game for Xbox.
Awesome.
Where you have an adorable little creature, but the handler says like, be careful because if they get out, they breed like rabbits. And at some point, your whole Ebon Hawk, that's your what you're piloting through this universe. There are so many of them that they're basically like becoming a danger. So I was thinking like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. There's going to be so many of them, and they're going to be adorable, so they won't want to kill them. Mm-hmm. And then they pulled this bait and switch that made my heart hurt.
And then Zartan blew the whistle.
I hated it so much because they were so cute
Adorbs.
and affectionate. They
That's-
clearly wanted to be pet.
Here's my question.
That's
They
Cobra.
first come out of the hatch, and Scarlet immediately is, oh my gosh, they're so cute.
Which I would have done.
Has she
Just
never seen
what-
Prometheus? Like, I don't care how cute it is. You don't let the alien get that close to your face.
I would snuggle the crap out of that thing. And then when it turned, I'd be like, yo, why?
The betrayal is real in your voice.
Are there any scientists who just like, holy shit, we have discovered an entirely new species, or indeed anybody who could look at the thing and go, that doesn't exist in reality on the planet Earth. What the fuck is going on? You don't just pick things up and hug them because they're adorable.
I would.
If they have no connection to any animal you've ever seen in your entire life.
I would say, oh my gosh, this is cute. There's no way if I pet this thing enough, there's no way it will kill me.
There's no way. The word fatal is right in the name of the creature.
I wouldn't care. Fatally adorable. Fatally adorable. And then when they became huge, they weren't even like cute versions of their tiny selves.
No.
They reminded me of in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey when Station is two adorable little stations, and then at the end he turns into one gross big station.
No, Zartan blows the whistles, and they grow to become these monstrosities, these minotaur-like creatures.
Fire-breathing minotaurs with laser
But this is my question.
pistols.
Did they mutate the laser pistols and whips in addition? Like those, where did those come from? They just appear.
I mean, obviously they were stashed away in that little pod.
Were they?
So they came busting out.
I'd like to believe they just grow them out of their sides and just pull them out. Why not, Chan? Is that fucking crazy?
My concern simply is that a minotaur that is also cyborg and also
Yes.
fire-breathing and has the laser pistols is really gilding the lily. Like you could stop at any one of those things. Fire-breathing cute things, awesome. Or cyborg cute things, cool. Or a minotaur, great. Why must we put all of these things into one thing?
Because lasers, Chan.
Fair point.
Because we need lasers.
I can see the point.
I want to know like why the one that she was petting didn't have any sense of loyalty. That he wasn't like,
You are really worked up
"Hey,
about these poor fatal flies.
I want things that are cute to stay cute.
It took 3 years for my cat to warm up to me. I feel like those animals are just playing along, and then
Oh, they're as scared as you as they are of them.
You don't think that in their childlike state, in their baby-like state, they actually
their
are?
mugwai state.
I think they're actually sweet in that state.
and then they become teenagers. This is really a metaphor for adolescence and parenting.
Wow.
Just a quick jump back to the subterranean subway thing.
Sure. Well, that's where we're going. That's where we're going next, right here, because that's essentially the Joes get captured up on the ship, which now takes us to the subway, where Shipwreck and Snake Eyes have basically discovered the underwater subway tunnels.
Can we go ahead and list off all the G.I. Joes and rank them in order from worst to best of Joes you would send in for spy missions that require disguises? Because I feel like
disguises, okay.
Dude with the parrot, probably off the list right off the bat. Let's
talkative dude with the parrot and identifiable tattoos on his forearm.
Dude with a timber wolf,
and
not the sort of thing that you run across. I'm not even to the mask yet. A timber wolf, not a dog, an enormous animal that again, like you don't see outside of the deep wilderness or a zoo.
But for the record,
then here's a mute guy with a huge mask that never gets taken off.
Right.
We're not even to the episode where he puts on a wig.
I was gonna say they are always the ones who are the masters of disguise.
I mean, I get that, like, this is hilarious. Kids are going to love this. That he's always he's always like Alias. He's got a wig on. They're
infiltrating Cobra, where people dress crazy all the time. It's not exactly abnormal for a guy to have. Remember Crocmaster? There was a guy, a Cobra guy, who's a crocodile trainer who came with a giant crocodile.
I would just I want to know when they made the decision to also, because later on in an episode they will also disguise the parrot and the wolf. In this one they left them normal, but I want to know at what point one of the writers said, "Oh my God, the animals should get in on this action."
Someone's like, "Get him a teeny Cobra helmet."
To be fair, I'm glad they didn't put a teeny Cobra helmet on Polly, because that may have been too much.
No. See, there's a point that I find unacceptable. This is logic that is breaking the bounds of reality. I do not approve. Then there's a point where we just tip over the edge and you're in Crazy Town and I'm on board again. Like, absolutely, the wolf should have like a Cobra Commander hood on him, because
and a vest. I want to see him in a vest.
Oh, I like the vest idea. Yeah. No, so they get on the sub. They kill two guys, right? Like, what do they do with the bodies?
No, I think they don't kill.
They don't kill anybody. I know, but all of a sudden there's two bodies behind that will be talking as soon as they wake up.
No, they did the classic. I'm imagining they did the classic. Tied them up in their underwear in a closet with duct tape over their mouth.
You know what? Now it makes sense. Didn't make sense before. Now I get it.
Yeah, so, if you look at all of those pouches on Snake Eyes' belt, one of them is duct tape.
To your point, though, about the wrong people to send in on the espionage undercover mission, they send Shipwreck on the subway, and he immediately starts talking to everyone. Because
people don't like
subway philosopher. Nobody likes a subway philosopher.
That's true. I always look away when anyone on the subway tries to talk to me.
That was actually one of the cool bits. It's
I liked it.
Oh, that's straight from reality.
I'd like to believe, though, in Shipwreck's mind, he just did it and then tried to justify it after the fact.
No!
Of course, I was talking with everybody on this spy mission. That's because now nobody wants to talk to me anymore.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh yeah, I know that's." That was my plan all along, to not make friends.
By the way, I hope every soldier on that train is horribly punished. Because basically someone's going to be like, "Hey, so you guys don't remember that dossier we gave you about how two of the soldiers, like one has a giant wolf and the other one has a parrot?"
But this is to my point. I think they see animals in there all the time. I don't think it's even a big deal. It's like, bring your weird pet to work week at Cobra.
Fair enough. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense.
Well, 2 cars over is a guy with an 8-foot crocodile. I'm glad we got in the parrot booth. You know.
I want to know also. So once they get to the end of the line and they have to stand in line, and they have this whole system where you recite a line and it authenticates your voice.
Yes. Yep. It's got all the voices of all of Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then so Dum Dum is like, all we got to do is say this sentence.
Sure.
No problem.
And then he goes up and he says it once. It clearly isn't working. Mm-hmm. And so he clears his voice and says in an even louder, more obnoxious voice.
That's America.
No. He thought it was just the password.
It was just the wording.
He didn't see the thing behind it.
Right. But,
Although,
I feel like you should have figured it out.
Also, Snake Eyes, if Shipwreck had made it past the giant robot, what happens to the dude with the wolf?
That's true.
We just
He's
assume
fucked.
you're coming along. Now, my thing about that was with Cobra's got a 7-foot sentient robot and
Yep.
uses it to work the
I'm
door.
sorry, did you say robot or did you say Dalek? Because that was
Yes,
a motherfucking Dalek.
that was a Dalek. But also, their robot budget must be insane.
Oh, absolutely.
In this 22-minute episode alone, we had 2 water robots and 1 guard robot. Mm-hmm. All of whom are very advanced.
I'm surprised that they even need that workforce to build the control cubes. Why not just use robots? So much cheaper.
That's
and
true.
like fewer security issues.
Especially when you're just using them to bounce. Like, that's it. But we're jumping ahead a sec here because there is one scene before our big climactic finale of the password.
Joko Delta.
And that's, yes, all of a sudden the Joes are there on this at Joe headquarters. And Flint is there. And then Zartan jumps on up and says, hey, Joes, I'm going to blow up your base.
What's up, bitches?
Now, there's one thing I don't know if you guys noticed as far as the animation goes, is that all the Joes are there in the scene. So you've got Gung Ho and Roadblock and Rakondo. And who else is there? Quick Kick.
Oh, seriously?
Quick Kick is in the scene at Joe headquarters in the opening,
damn it.
despite
that
the fact
doesn't-
he has
no.
not been introduced
We meet
to the
him
G.I. Joe team yet.
In episode 4 of this series.
Of this series. Somehow they decided to just animate him in.
Hold on.
To that scene.
Stop talking. Are you sure it was Quick Kick? Because if it wasn't
racist.
Quick Kick, you are a goddamn racist.
You're racist.
All Chinamen look alike. Way to go,
Even
Ray.
cartoon ones.
All Chinamen who wear red sashes with no shirt, no shoes, and black karate pants and a headband
To be fair,
look the same to me.
every time I go to a family reunion, at least half of the people, some of them well into their 60s, 70s, and 80s, wear the shurikens and just the suspenders, the shuriken suspenders. That's what they are, right?
Well, this is just a question I have to ask, though. It's because Quick Kick has not been introduced to the Joe team yet he's at headquarters as it gets blown up. My question is, who was that man?
I'm going to go with here's the thing. I feel like there was someone whose name probably wasn't Quick Kick, but whose specialty was being shirtless and throwing shuriken stars. And so when he died, there was this emotional hole that was left in the Joes. So somebody, any old guy who was wearing shuriken suspenders and can kick Cobra in the face comes along, they'll probably be like, they'll jump right in. It's like, man, I feel like I've known you my entire life. Join us.
I feel like in the world of the craziness of G.I. Joe, the more plausible explanation is that everyone in that room who was part of the explosion got short-term memory loss, and he was the most recent addition. And so then he woke up somewhere
In
and
Antarctica.
had no idea like who he was or where he was, so he wandered for a little while.
I better go make some commercials.
And then he something in him when he saw these soldiers on that glacier several episodes from now said, I feel like I can do this. I feel like I should protect these men. No one remembers him. He doesn't remember. He's got a clean slate. He's like Wolverine waking up after his memory's been wiped.
I was actually going to go with Chan's original, because my original thought was something very dark. It's that character was killed in the incident, and then later it's like, hey, we have an opening for a karate guy who looks just like you. Random happenstance.
We won't have to reprint your badge photo. Just go with it.
How do you like the name Quick Kick? I'm sure you came up with that yourself. But now, Gina, I think I like your answer better, is that he got amnesia. Everyone got amnesia.
That seems like a very G.I. Joe thing.
He ends up in Antarctica shooting commercials.
If memory serves, pun not intended, I feel like amnesia was a constant thing in G.I. Joe. People
just
get
saying.
knocked on the head and forget.
I have a
shit.
feeling we're going to be doing that run a few times.
Okay.
Or this can be like a Matrix-esque universe, and there's only so many copies of each character.
Right.
And eventually in the finale, they were going to reveal that it was the Matrix. All the G.I. Joes wake up, still have their knowledge, and
then kick
go on to
ass.
fight the robots.
I have one more question about this scene before we go to the finale. Is Cobra Commander showing the plan on the big Tony Stark board that just he makes appear in front of him. And he says these cubes have to be placed in precise locations and then zoom up to Space Station Delta. Is it weird those cubes are literally off the Earth? In the demo,
I did not realize that.
we put them underwater. We put them in, all these exciting places, and yet in the actual workable demo, they're all in space.
It was probably there was probably some sort of pinpoint location, but since it would be too small to really show on the map, he decided to blow it up.
just basically a pyramid of darknessing for dummies.
Right, exactly.
I mean, geometry tells us that if you have a sphere and you put a pyramid over the top of it, those points must be off of the sphere, otherwise it doesn't function. And when we see him later, the beams do shoot straight up out of the cube. It's
Yes,
not
they
like
do.
they go
At an angle.
yeah. So even if they're at the equator, they would have to shoot at a wildly acute angle to be to meet above the North Pole. So
That's just science right there.
That's not even science. That's math.
Nice.
That is indisputable math.
Well, math just
Why are we-
Unless the space station is
Gina.
so huge
Nope. Still
that
not.
no matter where the points of the cubes shoot from, even if they shoot straight up, they're always going to hit one part of the
No.
space station.
Because if they're in the southern hemisphere and they're shooting straight up, they're going to be shooting down with respect to the sphere that is the Earth. So
Can we get someone on the phone from G.I. Joe to answer this for us?
I need someone from NASA.
I believe they're
Right
at
now.
lunch. They'll be at lunch for like 6 hours.
Oh, guys, I got Buzz Aldrin right here on the line. I could just he buzzed in. So anyway, so that's my thoughts on that. So G.I. Joe headquarters is now in ruins. It's been destroyed, and Flint just says, we're going to build a new one.
Yeah, might
Keep
as well.
fighting Cobra. This is what we have an unlimited budget
Now
for
that
this.
they know where we live, let's keep building.
They build it in the same spot. Well, it doesn't get destroyed in one of the movies too. Like I'm under the impression that this happens a lot.
I believe Joe headquarters gets destroyed about as often as the Simpsons house.
Yeah. I mean, which again, where is this money coming from? Taxpayers?
You know where it's coming from? Me and you.
Taking money out of our pockets.
Just to keep building their top secret headquarters.
Got to fund G.I. Joe people. And you know what? I'm glad to do it. Because I support our troops. So we're jumping back to the subway now. This is the very end of the episode. Shipwreck, as we have already established, has said the wrong word, and in true American fashion, just said it louder the second time.
Yep. You don't understand me? All right.
At which point, intruder.
Must be exterminated.
Exterminate.
Love it. And so this is the most amazing trap. And I'm just glad that they were the last people in line because there'd be a lot of unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of backup.
A lot of collateral damage happening because the spikes come out of the ground through the hallway.
Out of the concrete.
Out of the concrete.
Concrete buckles up.
Both walls suddenly grow spikes and start pushing in
Yeah.
on them
Yep, yep.
like it's the trash compactor in the Death Star.
I feel like this is a trap you can use only once,
Yeah.
and then your floor and your walls are destroyed.
Got it clean afterwards.
And you have
It's
to
gross.
reset everything and rebuild everything. It's probably wildly expensive, just like all their
I
robots.
feel like they stole this from D&D.
Assuredly.
Like this is straight up Dungeons and Dragons action there.
You'd
Like,
think that'd be enough of a trap. Oh, no. That's not how Cobra works. They have a certain panache. So there's buzzsaws going through the floors, the concrete steel floors.
I mean, you have to have buzzsaws.
I mean,
at
it's
that
really not
point.
intimidating until you have rampaging buzzsaws coming
Yeah.
through the floor at them.
yeah, it's like the mafia who, like want to make a show of things. They're going to kill you and like everybody's going to know about it.
Right.
They're going to make sure that, if you cross them, you will go down hard.
And this is our cliffhanger, right?
This is it. That's the end of the episode.
So I have one more thing that I noticed, which was even after this, assuming this pyramid plan succeeds.
and it will.
What is their long-term plan here? Because then what? You're just like, because he says something like, "Oh, then we'll rule. Then Cobra will rule forever." And it's like, so you're gonna have to place men on those cubes 24 hours a day to guard them to make sure. Also, you have no electricity, so
That is correct.
So what's the overall plan here? Just no one's gonna have electricity. We'll guard those cubes for the rest of our lives to make sure they don't have electricity.
I feel like if we removed Cobra Commander's hood, we would find he has an Amish beard. In fact, Cobra is a front for the Mennonites.
That would make the most sense.
A ruthless Amish terrorist organization determined to rule the world. I love that plan, and I'm excited to be a part of it. I think everybody's just going to raise a barn and be salt of the earth and wear brown. And I think,
Things will be a little simpler.
those are the people Cobra will be ruling.
Yeah, yep.
Congrats. Unless you live in South America or Australia.
Because I feel like those people would be the real rulers of the world.
Yes.
Because they would be able to manufacture everything.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, there'd not be a whole lot to manufacture if you don't have electricity. What, you're gonna
And you can't
manufacture
transport
hose?
it, I guess, because then trucks won't work.
Hello, there was a thing before ships. There was before electricity. Ships were powered. Oh, Jesus! I don't even remember.
Nope.
You're trying.
Well, we'll get to it.
Really,
We'll get
I
to
think
it.
with the South American and Southern Hemisphere setup, I just want to see the Joes set up a base at the Shire. because that seems in the world of plausibility now.
Sure.
Just set one up at Bilbo's house.
Yeah.
No.
What's the problem?
He takes kindly to all guests.
Hold on. Did they ever figure out, like, if it was legitimately a pyramid of darkness,
yes,
and it actually darkens the sky?
It actually darkens the sky.
That is going to cause havoc with photosynthesis, which means it's going to be a lot harder to feed all of the northern hemisphere and much of the southern hemisphere.
I'm assuming the northern hemisphere will just die.
Just like a nuclear winter is basically what's happening.
As many people that can go to the southern hemisphere will, probably the rich people.
Sure.
Who can afford to take their boat rides over there.
Hey, they're already going down Rio de Janeiro and partying it up. Why not just make it permanent?
Guys, I got a wacky suggestion. It's almost as if Cobra Commander didn't think this thing through. It's almost as if he said, this is a good idea in theory. Let's just do it and see what happens.
It's almost as if the writer's room said, oh shit, there are petty fours over at catering. Let's go.
It makes it real dark. It's a pyramid. Go. It's spooky.
What are kids afraid of? Darkness? Cool.
Oh man, maybe that's how they're going to do it. Is that they're going to hoard all of the night lights, and that's Cobra's plan to dominate.
I wanted that G.I. Joe figure, the one who lights up at night. You just plug him in. I'm sure they could have worked. No, they don't have one. I'm saying they missed an opportunity.
Sure.
Just plug in G.I. Joe nightlight guy.
He would be really
Cobra.
bad at most things, though. I feel like he would be spotted immediately, first of all.
Yeah.
What's that over in the distance?
They would still send him to spy missions. Okay, it's going to be complete dark. We need someone who can get through places without being seen. Nightlight, go. On it.
Guys, there's a sniper. We have no idea where he's coming. Oh, there's that big light up in the tree there. Just take down the tree. So that's the first episode of the Pyramid of Darkness saga. Now, Gina, I have to ask you, did this episode pass the Bechdel test?
It did not pass the Bechdel test. It failed with flying colors. There were two ladies in the episode. That was Lady J and Scarlet, and they never interacted because one is on a space
They were
station.
separated by the troposphere, for God's sakes.
So no, it was a big fail. Episode 1, Bechdel test fail.
And that's going to end episode 1 of the Pyramid of Darkness. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And thank you guys for being a part of all this. Look at your dour faces right now. You look like your cat's been shot.
Jesus, how many more episodes do we have to go?
Well, there's 85, Chan, of the original series, plus the 10 for the 2 movies. And then if we wanted to do the newer G.I. Joe stuff, oh, man, Chan, there's a lot of stuff we can go to.
That was officially the first full G.I. Joe episode I've ever watched, I believe.
Oh, nice.
Yay.
I mean, like on a holistic emotional level, how did it treat you?
I cried a little.
Oh, wow, okay.
When the fluffy, cute animals turned against
You really felt betrayed by that.
I don't know if I can get on board with a show that makes me feel for little characters.
Have you watched Gremlins? Do you not
but
have
they
a frame
still
of...
leave you. They still leave you the original.
I see.
They still leave you.
I think you'll be happy with the way it wraps up, though. Because I'll go ahead and give you a little spoiler ahead of time. They get cute again.
Does she take one home?
I assume, yeah.
I just want the original one. The original cute one. Then the rest can turn into monsters.
Yeah, but then anytime you're watching a soccer game, someone blows a whistle, and all of a sudden it's a fire-breathing Minotaur.
I'm going to watch this
cybernetic
that's all it
implants.
takes is a whistle?
I'm going to watch this documentary on trains. Oh, no! My house is burned down.
I'm listening to some Spike Jones. They got a slide whistle.
Oh,
All of a sudden...
I assume
Wow.
you train it like the Hulk to eventually be able to control itself.
I know you
Here's
do.
my secret. I'm angry all the time.
Assuming that's the voice of the family.
Well, that's our show, everybody. Again, thanks, everybody, for listening. We got different contact information. You can reach the show, of course, at knowingishalfthepodcast.com, as well as email us at knowingishalfthepodcast@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Almighty Ray.
I'm at 999 RPMs.
I'm at Gina Ippy.
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive.
Excellent.
IPPY.
IPPY.
MISSISSIPPY.
That's, you failed that spelling test.
I got the portmanteau. That's the important thing.
And we'll be back with episode 2 of Pyramid of Darkness. Thanks for listening.
Oh, hey, wait a minute.
Yes. I had just finished the show, Chan.
Yeah, well,
And I guess I didn't.
you also
no
tried to
going back.
You tried to end it twice too, and that didn't work
Nope.
out. So here comes the third rebid.
Yeah.
The Science Jerks. Go to that. That's a podcast that I do. You should listen to that. Also,
Well, gosh, why don't we go to RayBrentPodcast.com while we're going and listen to the Raisin Brent sports talk show that I'm on.
none of us are very good at
We
picking
are
our
bad
own
at
stuff.
self-promotion.
You can go to my butthole since I don't have a podcast.
What are you? Wait a minute. Are you?
Frantically search this podcast for the My Butthole podcast.
Was this a message just for your boyfriend? Is that is that you signaling like, yeah, we can do it in the butt tonight? What you have the Mutiny has a website, right? Or
Would you like to talk
Twitter,
about that?
just give us the information for God's sake.
You can go to my own personal website, which has videos I've done at GinaMIppolito.com because Gina Ippolito was taken already.
That bitch.
That is
bitch.
terrible news. Let's go flame their website.
Yeah.
Take it down. Thank you. Good night.
Good enough.